So with that being said, is like I said, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what work you go and you do because, or you request somebody to do because it'll come back to you in the end. Think how she paid the price and she can never ever have children in her life.
Yeah, like in a way, because of her selfishness, she ruined her own happiness.
Stay away from those things, guys. Don't mess with it. Listening to stories and I guess reading about it is different, but I wouldn't suggest you getting involved in it. I don't think it leads to anything good.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Midnight Safe Room, where you're safe and no topic is off limits. Um, we really appreciate all the feedback and especially all the the shares and likes, especially on the videos that we have posted recently. You're definitely gonna see the differentiation, from us making videos, just from the sole factor of us being more comfortable. You kind of even notice from how we start videos now to oppose how when we first did it. But I mean, regardless of that, like I said, I really appreciate everyone who watched our episodes and continue to support us. Like I said, we are gonna upload quite frequently, or we're gonna try to have some type of schedule. So always be in tune with that. Being other than that, I'm grateful to be here once again with my brother, brother Jesse right here. Other than that, how you feeling today, dude?
Pretty good. Got the cafecito on deck. A little tired working those 10-hour shifts, but as always, I'm here and happy to record for you guys and talk about these topics. Like I said, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to, share with us, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, no, definitely thank you. We're blessed to have you guys here with us. And like my brother was saying, we are getting better at this and just with the editing, I'm working on it, just bear with me with the sound, the editing, the effects, all that type of stuff that I'm, working on. So, like I said, just bear with me. We're growing, we're learning, and thank you again for just tuning in and watching, and for taking time out of your busy life, busy time, day, just to listen to us, talk about this stuff. So yeah, no,
Yeah, but like how my brother said too, guys, we really do appreciate everything. We wouldn't be here without you, especially with the support. But another thing before we even dive into our topics, just a quick thing to mention that, everything we do share, is like whatever we may say, just know that it is just like our opinion or something, or things we look up. Who knows if it is factual or whatnot, but that's what we find out, or from looking up videos or whatnot. But even then, like if we do state some type of opinion or some belief of ours, like I said, that is just our belief or opinion. In no way, shape, or form, are we saying that you have to believe us or we're right or we're wrong. So just disclosing that. But like I said, I'm ready to start this episode off, and so is my brother. So let's do this, dude.
yeah, and also with that being said, if we do, have some information that's a little different, and you guys have more factual info, just let us know, and we'll try our best to upload or update that information because, like, we do our research and we go based off of what we know. So today I wanted to touch on love ties. I think they're called Amarres in Spanish. I think they're called love ties in English. So basically it's like when you go to like a brujo, like a witch doctor, and then you basically tell them to do like a love tie to somebody that you're interested in. So this story is about this girl, she was in relationships, but her relationships weren't going that well, for a while. She didn't have a good relationship. So she was off the market, she just wanted to spend time, to herself, recollecting herself, just growing, living life. She worked in an office setting. And basically, she had a really good friend that worked with her. But then there was obviously a point in time where there was this guy that started working with them. And long and behold, she thought, he was pretty handsome, and she tried to get his attention, but he was more of a like, okay, I'm just going to work type of guy, like I'm here to work, nothing else, no friendships, you know, just solely here to work. And she liked them, so she told one of her friends, like, hey, I think this guy's cute, but he's just here to work. Like, it doesn't seem like she wants to get, he wants my attention. Like, I'm doing my best, so that he notices me. But she couldn't get him. Like, no matter how hard she tried, like, he wasn't paying attention to her. So then her friend told her, like, "I think I could hook you up, like, I'll help you." And she's like, "But how?" She's like, "I'm gonna tell you this ritual that you have to do, you know?"
Yeah, there's always gotta be that one friend, right? You always gotta find that one person that does some type of thing like that.
Yeah. So then, like, after that, she's like, "Okay, like, I'll do what you told me that I gotta do." And she's like, "Okay, well, it's gonna be kind of gross. Like, it really depends on your comfort zone, but, it's something you have to do." So she's like, "Okay, tell me more about what I gotta do." And then she's like, "So this is what you have to do. So when you're menstruating, when you're on your days, like, you have to grab your pad, open it up before you put it on. You grab a little piece of paper and you write down the guy's name. Like, let's just say his name is I don't
Bob.
know, Bob. Yeah, Bob. So, grab Bob's name, put it on the little piece of paper. You put it on your, pad, and you put it on, and basically, whatever, comes out gonna fall there, and, you'll see what I mean." So without thinking twice, she did that. She put Bob's name on her pad, and, she left it there. And this was a little bit before New Year's.
But before even you going on, isn't it pretty crazy, like to the extreme that certain people do to, I guess, have or get that person's attention? Well, even more than that, she's trying to pretty much get him to love her, right? Like, so that's pretty crazy to think that someone goes to that extent to do such actions, to that extent. Like I said, I just find it really mind boggling.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it just goes to show how, like, us as humans, we do whatever it takes to grab somebody's attention, like, no matter what, without thinking about, like, consequences or anything like that. Like, is this gonna come back to me? Is it not?
Yeah, I feel like we don't ever think about the repercussions when it comes to these types of things. I feel like we always just think about the good thing or what we want, but we don't ever think about the outcome, which 99% of the time when you mess with those types of things, it's like a bad outcome. Like I feel like you're messing with bad juju, you're gonna get a bad outcome. Just, I guess, I mean, I don't guess, I feel like that's the kind of motto I follow.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like I said, we are selfish as humans. Like, I feel like even me, like, I'm victim of being a selfish person. But yeah, no, with that being said, so it was a little bit before New Year's, and he randomly texts her like, "Oh, I hope, you have a good New Year's. I hope you have a good day." And she's like, "Wait, what?" Like, obviously he had her number, but he never really texted her like that. So she's like, "Whoa, maybe this is actually working." Then a little bit after that, they were actually texting each other like, "Oh, how are you? Did you eat already? What are you doing?" Just things like that. Like, it was more in depth now. So she's all like, "It's actually working." So they actually started, like, kind of like seeing each other. And she told her friend, like, "Oh, the ritual's actually working." She's like, "Yeah, it's working, but it's not complete. Like, there's another step that you have to do, but this you have to do yourself. Like, I can't help you with it." So she's like, "What is it that I have to do?" So she's like, "There's this oil that I'm gonna give you. It's a special oil. And then I'm gonna give you a necklace, and you're gonna rub the oil on the necklace, and you're gonna put it on him. And there's certain words that you have to say when you put the necklace on him, but you have to be having intercourse with him while you put on the necklace, and you say when you chant these words." So she's like, "Okay." So she gives her the necklace. She's getting intimate with the guy, and she, like, rubs the oil on the necklace, and she puts the necklace on his neck, obviously while they're having intercourse. And at the moment, she's, like, on top of him. So she grabs the necklace and she, like, basically pulls him in, and she says, "You're mine, and forever you will be mine." So then after that, he just, like, lost it, and he went crazy for her. Like, they were always together. Like, he wouldn't leave her alone. Like, he would text her, he would call her, he would message her, like, everything. Like, the whole, like, he was just, like, basically, like, obsessed with her. And it just goes back to show, like, we'll do whatever it takes, as humans, to get what we want.
Yeah, dude, I think that's insane. The fact that somebody went out of their way to do all those non-imaginable things, her with, her pad and her menstrual, and then the fact that, while they were having intercourse, she chanted those words. Because to me, it kind of sounds like that was an amulet that she gave her, and that what she was chanting was maybe like a spell, for him, I guess, to be trapped into whatever she was casting on him or something. Maybe that was kind of like, I don't know, like a type of item to kind of seal the deal, if that's what it kind of, if I make sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And like I said, so we're getting a little bit more into depth with the story. So then, what's it called? He's actually they're together. Everything's going fine. And then it gets to the point where she's like, you know what? I want to have a baby with you. So you would assume that with what she did, like I guess, the love tie, he was gonna say, yeah, like let's have a baby, happily ever after.
Yeah, kind of common sense. I mean, she already did all that crazy stuff, and he's already hooked on her, so why not?
Yeah. So basically, um, hey Kichi, I don't know if you guys can see my cat, but she's right here. Hey, mama. Say hi, Kichi. Yeah. So yeah, so she basically tells him, you know what, like I want to have a baby. And like I said, you would assume that he would say yes, like, oh, let's have two, three, because I'm in love with you. But he says nah. He's like, we're not gonna have a baby. Like I'm just telling you right now, straight up, like we're not gonna have kids. And she's like, but why? And he's like, cause I don't want to have kids. Like I don't want to have kids with you. So she got upset, obviously. So I guess there was a moment in time when they had unprotected sex, and she got pregnant. So she told him, she's like, hey, guess what? I'm pregnant. And then he's like, nah. He's like, hell no, you're not gonna have that kid. He's like, we're gonna go and you're gonna have an abortion. And she's like, well, how can you say that? Like, I thought you loved me. Like you say that you love me, and now you're saying that you don't want to have a baby with me. And then he's all like, you know what? He's all like, you know what? I know what you did. He's like, I know what you did to me. I know that you did that love tie-in or that curse. He's like, and just know that I have protection way above from what you did to me. He's all like,
Damn, so she kind of like countered her, like he checkmated her. He's like, "You think you got me, but I was one step ahead of you." Kichi. Um, yeah, that's crazy, and I'm curious to see, like, well, right now, what you're gonna say, if whatever he had as a protection was like a good type of like white magic or black magic. So yeah, my bad for interrupting.
oh no, you're good, dude. It gets worse because even after he said that, he told her, and now that I know that what you did to me, that's why I was crazy for you. He said, I'm gonna make sure that you never have kids. He's like, I wanna make sure that I make it my mission that you're not gonna have this kid and you're never gonna have kids ever again.
Dude, that's like a whole 360. Like it even kind of makes you think like in the movies or in the shows when you're watching them and then out of nowhere, they're like, ha ha ha, like you think the villainous person or the, person committing something so sinister, has that happily ever after, but little do you know it always comes to bite you back.
Yeah, no, dude, for real. Because like I said, you never know what's gonna happen or how it's gonna go back to you. So then, like, obviously, she's like, nah, like, I'm gonna have this baby, like, I'm his mom too. Like, I make decisions too, and like, not just you. So obviously, she's upset because he doesn't want to have the baby. But then, time passes by, and she actually has a stillborn. So it turns out that the umbilical cord got stuck around the baby's neck, and the baby passed away.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's pretty intense, because he did tell her that, and then so we're going down that hall.
So like kind of like with everything going on, I mean, obviously what we talk about and what we believe in everything. Do you think that with hearing someone that kind of like doesn't believe in this or kind of barely getting into this, they would even consider this being real, or would like just skepticism, just all coincidental?
No, I mean it's pretty straightforward. That's why I am a firm believer that curses and ties and all that work 100%. But you gotta be careful what comes back to you. Like they say that tenfold thing, like whatever you put out there, that's gonna come back to you.
Damn. So then her baby unfortunately passed away, and then that's it after that, or it ended like that, or what happened?
No, so yeah, because everything was just getting bad. Like everything was getting bad, so they ended the relationship. So all that she did was basically for nothing. Well, it went, bad for her because she lost her baby. He ended up leaving her. Like it was just bad for her overall. Um, And then I got to the point where she actually started seeing somebody else. Like she started seeing another guy, and she wanted to get pregnant, and she couldn't get pregnant, so she ended up going to a specialist, right? So she ended up going to a specialist, and she was talking to them, telling them, I want to have a baby, but unfortunately, I'm having issues. And this is where it gets crazy, dude. So, you know how he said that I'm going to make sure that you never have babies ever again?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember.
So they did, tests and all that. And it turns out that they detected cancer on her uterus. So she had cancer on her uterus and they had to remove everything. So with that being said, is like I said, be careful what you wish for. Be careful what work you go and you do because, or you request somebody to do because it'll come back to you in the end. Think about it. All she wanted was him, and now because of that, now she paid the price, and she can never ever have children in her life.
Yeah, like in a way, because of her selfishness, she ruined her own happiness. Like in a way, I feel like that's a lesson to be like, don't let let nature do its thing, let life do its thing. You know that we don't have the control or the power, or even if we do have the ability like she did, I guess it's kind of saying like you have no right to do that. Like why should you be able to do that with that type of, I don't know, power or magic? It kind of goes to like a lot of different topics of higher power, more than meets the eye of like other energies or entities that exist out right now.
Yeah, no, and with that being said, we gotta just be careful what we manifest. Like sometimes we wish things, and it happens, and then little do you know, like, oh man, like I manifested this, and it's not something that I wanted. You know, because like I said, then there's repercussions, consequences, things like that. That happen to you, and then you're like, damn, like I should have never wanted this in the first place. And then that was that one was pretty interesting, and um that's like a story that I really felt like I could share with you guys because, just so you guys could be aware of like, things actually happen. Like it's not just you want it your way, Like I'm pretty sure like when you go to somebody to, for you to curse someone or for you to do a tie, like you guys are all within network. Like I guess look at it as like a circuit. Like one thing connects to the other and the other and the other. So then if something goes wrong, I'm pretty sure everybody gets affected.
Kind of like a domino effect, like a chain effect. Like uh, you do this to A, happens to B and C and D, kind of like that. Without A, there's no B, and without B, there's no C, whatever like that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, it's just things like that, just be careful, what you wish for. And just be careful what you do. And, if you do want to curse somebody, just, be ready. I'm just saying, be ready for it to come back to you or, because you got to be careful out there, man.
No, we don't condone any cursing, guys. Just to throw that out. But even then, talking about this dude, like having this specific topic, makes me or reminds me of. I'm not sure if you remember that show that our parents used to watch, or I'm pretty sure anybody of the Mexican household that's just either running around, roaming around, or just being there. But was it las mujeres de las casas de la vida real?
Mhm.
So man, I didn't realize, dude, that how freaking violent or how like actually crazy that show was. Like the type of imagery or things that it would show. I never thought that that would air. Like seeing the stuff now, how censored it is. Like that show was no filter, guys.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I remember my mom used to watch it when I was a little kid. And I would see some stuff, but I mean, obviously, as a kid, you don't really pay attention, or even if you see it and it's like graphic, you're like, oh, like you just think it's normal. Um, so you just in your head, you're like, it's normal, but obviously, it's not. So yeah, that was a pretty intense show, and then not just that, but I remember, we watched some episodes recently, and we're like, damn, like, like this show is pretty hardcore. Like, it's a good show, guys. Like, if you guys want to watch like the reruns, I recommend it. Like, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, so for the people that don't know what that is, the it's pretty much real cases. Like it's kind of that's what it's named, like real cases of women, but not necessarily women. Well, yeah, it could be particular about anything, but it's it's like a lady that pretty much it's her show, and she receives stories from people that actually happen, and they pretty much depict it, like they portrayed everything, like the the how it goes. But the one that I wanted to talk about, dude, because of what you said, about like amarres and rituals with love and all that, it was this one particular episode where it's a husband and his wife, and they have a daughter too, and they have two daughters, a baby and one that's older, maybe like 5, 6 years old. It kind of starts off as always, showing how they're enduring the struggle, or they're kind of life is going good and it goes downhill. It kind of is different for every episode, but it starts off how I believe the husband named Jacinto is struggling to get a job, and obviously they have to eat and all that, and you could tell because of how they're anguish, and they're saying they don't have food to eat. And I don't know how it comes to the point where he suggests that, oh, we should go to my grandma's. I believe it's because he said that he could get a job, he could get jobs there, or she could help him, or I don't know what necessarily, or there was opportunities. And you know how it is, for Latinos or Hispanics, like she ended up leaving for the benefit of her children, not because she wanted to.
Yeah.
But you know how it is with in Hispanic or Latina households, how moms will do anything to help their kids. They'll, if they have to walk barefoot on glass and fire, like they'll do that. Um, well, going forward, point is she says yes, they go. First scene that pops up, dude, it's like it's the grandma, which is of the guy, and she's cleansing someone. She has like like herbs, and knives and candles lit, and she's like very aggressively saying in Spanish, que te saque el demonio, que te saque. It's like, take out that demon, and like, be clean, leave. And she's doing all these quick weird motions and everything, and then the son, which is her, and the nephew, I believe, and then he comes with his wife and the daughters, and they're kind of be like, what the hell, they're watching her. And she's like, oh, give me a second. And then it's kind of like when she approached them, I didn't think too much about it, how she approached them until later on in the episode. But I noticed I just thought it was more like of a motherly thing, because obviously it's the grandma, and she still continued with the thing, right? And then it goes on with the episode. Um,
Dude, like, imagine you go visit your grandma and she's doing all that stuff, like rituals and yelling and, with the knives and the candles and maybe, I don't know, sacrificing animals too. Like, I know that they sacrifice chickens and all that stuff, but imagine if you seen that. Like, what would be the first thing that you came to mind? Like, I would have been like, damn, like, I don't even know if I want to stay here, not because she might do it to me, but just the simple fact that something can attach itself, to me. So I would be pretty like, I don't know, freaked out about it. Like, I just wouldn't want to be around that.
yeah, no, definitely, dude. Especially with how many harmful things can come out, or like you don't know what, like when you cleanse, yourself or do things, you don't know exactly what bad energy you're releasing, and especially having multiple people be cleansed there. So yeah, it goes to next in the episode where, I mean, it continues on to the next scene where the wife, I guess they wake up, or they're in the kitchen. No, they're in the kitchen. And she's talking to the daughter, and the daughter says, I don't want to be here no more. And the grandma comes in and she says, what? I don't want you here. You can leave. The door's right there, and she's talking to a child. So a grown lady, is telling a child, and then the mom still goes, oh no, that's not what she meant. She meant it's because she's sad because her friend's out here. And right away she goes like, well, listen here. And right when she's about to go off on them, the husband walks in, which is the nephew, right, of the lady, because she's a grandma. And so then he was like, "What's going on here?" And then she's like, "Oh, nothing, nothing, honey. Like, oh, let's go to the market. I want to take you so you can get something to eat." But he was denying, and then they still go. And then he goes like, "Oh," but while they're going, she goes like, "I feel that you have some energy in you. Like, I feel negative, something heavy." And then she goes to this guy's puesto, like a little stand to this guy, and she goes, she greets him, and they greet each other, and she goes like, gives him a list of herbs or other weird things, and she's like, "I need this for my cleansings." And then she goes like, "Oh, thank you for that." And she goes like, "Don't worry, later on I'll come back with your special amulet." And he goes like, "Yeah, because I need it." And the son's like, what are they talking about?" But he just keeps going. Fast forward, then she cleanses the son. Well, she's doing it and doing the same thing. She starts, swapping him or hitting him with the leaves, putting salt on him, throwing the spray on him, like blowing smoke from a candle, lighting, and then, he's all like, she's like, you're done, but she's saying again, like, leave the demon, like, que se vaya el demonio, que se quite, sáquense. She's like, release, get out, demon. And he goes like, she's like, you're done. And he's like, but I feel the same. And she goes like, I just have to do one more thing. And she gives him, like I said, she gives him an amulet and she says, you gotta just keep this. And I'm gonna take care of the rest. She's like, you just hold on to this and that's it. Right. And then it obviously goes to, I would assume they're going to bed, but she's awake. And when she starts chanting stuff, and then she has a chicken in her hand and a knife on the other, and she goes, make it known that he is mine and no one else will be his, and that his love is only mine. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. Like, why would you talk about your nephew like that if you're his grandma? And then I thought about it and I was like, oh, dude, they're committing like ancestral things, like an ancestral act. I'm like, dude, what the hell? Like, you're telling me that your own grandmother did all that and on its own nephew, like to have that type of relationship? That's disgusting.
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. Just so you guys know, he is the nephew, and then the one making the curses or the jobs is the grandma, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's pretty intense. Like why would the grandma wanna curse the nephew with that? Like, oh, he's mine and he's only gonna love me. So yeah, that's pretty crazy, dude. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, so then she starts chanting that, right? And then next thing you know, it shows like her stab the chicken, like, "Arr," and you hear it like, squawk apparently, and it goes to the morning. And the daughter looks like she's tired, and the mom's like, well, what do you look like that? She's like, I couldn't sleep. She's like, why? You were having nightmares? She's like, 'cause I was hearing crying. So I was like, now you're just having nightmares. She's like, I was hearing crying from like a chicken. And you do remember that she like sacrificed the chicken. And then after that, pretty much, she next thing you know, the husband and the wife interact. They have an interaction talking about, oh, maybe I should start looking for jobs. I should start because he's not finding any jobs, even though they said he was. That's why they went there. But she's like, she should just like, oh, maybe I want to help you. Like, let me get a job and I'll help you. And this guy pushes her and he gets like physical, and she's like, you've never touched me like that in my life. And he like walks away. And then, oh yeah, so that happened before, and then that's when it goes, like I said, in the morning, where she told him that she couldn't sleep because of the chicken, because she heard the chicken cries. Then it goes to like, later on, and it shows the grandma again doing stuff, but the nephew walks in, and but she's cleaning something, and she has candles all over the floor. And when he walks in, she starts like talking to him, but I noticed that she's looking at him in a really weird way, like a way that like a boyfriend and girlfriend or husband and wife kind of look at each other like that.
Like all seductive.
Yeah. And next thing you know, she starts caressing his face and like looking like she wants to kiss him, but the daughter walks in and she like gets so mad and she goes like, didn't I tell you to knock when before you come in? And she goes like, but I did knock, grandma. And she's like, but what the hell do you want? She's like, you have a client, he's here for a cleansing. She's like, no, I'm not. Tell him I'm not. It's not today. And then, she leaves all scared and sad, and then legit, dude, she like, it just cues to like the camera, like with her grabbing the nephew and like her pretty much showing that she lays him down in the bed and she starts kissing him. So insinuating that they have relations. Then like then the daughter comes back, and it's like that crazy thing how moms always know what's wrong with you. You can like walk in from that door and have like a straight face, like, and then they'll be like, what's wrong? I'm like, "Well, you didn't even talk to them." But yeah, point is that happens to the little girl, and she's like, nothing's wrong. And she's like, hey, you can't tell me, I'm your mom. I know everything. That's great. I don't know. I don't know how that is, guys. I don't know. Moms have that sixth sense. But then she tells her like, what's wrong? She's like, it's because grandma yelled at me. Like, why'd she yell at you? Because, is it because she was working and you interrupted or you broke something or anything? She goes like, no. And like, so why? What was she doing then? Like, she was caressing daddy, and she's like, what the? So next thing you know, it shows her get up and run, and yeah, then she opens the door, and yep, they're in the bed and having intercourse. And she's like, you're disgusting, like you're sick. And the husband starts yelling, like, get out, I told you to get out, like kind of being like saying like she's in the wrong, like, what are you doing and barging in on us? And I'm like, what? Then she's like, gets out, and then she's like, I'm leaving or whatever. But the husband comes on and he says like he's like, I don't want you to be. Oh no, well she didn't say she was leaving. She was obviously so disgusted and I mean with that situation, like shocked. And he comes on and he tells her like, "Ah, I want you to leave because I don't even know if those kids are mine." And she's like, "What do you mean? Like, don't say that."
Create a space where people can wear their truth, embrace their struggles, and find strength in their darkest moments. We're here to remind you that no matter what life throws your way, you have the power to fight back. You can save 10% off on your order with Midnight 10. 10% off again with your order Midnight 10. Look at the quality of these shirts, guys. Everything about it. It just looks perfect, you know? The lettering, the graphics, everything.
And he's like, you and your disgusting grandma. And he slaps her, dude. He slaps like, boom, backhands her, and she falls. And then she goes like, God's gonna handle you to watch. And yeah, dude, it's sad because it just goes to the end where literally her and her baby, like a baby on her arms, and the little girl are in the streets, and then like it's none of that happy ending crap where it literally shows them that the ending where the nephew stays in like in a relationship where it's like as in like a boyfriend or girlfriend or husband and wife with the grandma because she cursed them, and it shows that they're kind of stranded out in nowhere and now they're out in the streets. So that's insane, dude. The fact that someone of like his own family did something so disgusting, and because she didn't like them, like who knows if it was because she was vindictive towards the wife, because right away she didn't like, how some people are just like that for no reason,
Yeah, no.
or she just, I mean, again, she's just sick in the head too of her even wanting to take advantage of her nephew. Like who in their right mind can even think of doing that, like.
Yeah, so basically the grandma and the nephew are like happily forever after, and then his wife and his children are homeless out on the street. That's crazy, guys. Because I mean, I couldn't imagine, like to each their own. Like obviously people think different. Some things I like, you don't like. Some things you like, I'm not gonna like. It's like I said, everybody has their own mindset. Everybody has their own likes. Everybody has their own thoughts, all that stuff. But obviously, as humans, we should know, right from wrong. At least I would assume. Like I think it's perfectly like how do you say, like it's nothing too crazy for us to be like, okay, this is wrong, this is right, we all should know wrong from right. But yeah, no, that was a really intense story, and like it falls in line with the one that I said, like you do something and like there's consequences to it. Like obviously within the story we didn't see the consequences. Obviously the consequences went towards the wife, the wife and the children, because nothing happened to the grandma or the nephew. But then again, you don't know what could catch up to them as well, you know? Like, we don't see that side of the story. So, I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, and the thing about this show, guys, is that it's like so realistic in a sense where, like I said, it's not kind of showing you that the reason for this show was to show people that life isn't all rainbows and unicorns, because it really isn't. A lot of times they show that the good guy wins in the end, or everyone's happier. They find the person that was missing and all that, but nah, it just goes to show you how dangerous and cruel the world really can be, and how you have to just literally be watching out for anything, and even the closest people around you can be the ones to cause that harm on you, whether it be physical or mental.
Yeah, it's like they say, what's that saying? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Yeah, yeah.
Things like that, because you never know in reality who's gonna harm you. Like you could say like, "Oh, my family loves me," yeah, but you don't know what they're trying to do behind your back, or if they envy you, or they don't like you. Things like that happen. I have another story. It's nothing like compared to those. Like it's a little different. It's a story about this lady that moved into a building, and she would just have her house, well, her little apartment, and she would always see this lady that had like a beige sweater and a pink um like a pink bandana, and she would always see her like wandering the hallways, but she wouldn't really like say much to her. And then she would just see her and she would always wonder like, I wonder who she is. I wonder, where she lives. But because her building was a little higher up, she actually noticed where the lady lived. So she looked outside of the windows and she could see down into the lady's apartment because the lady would always go into her apartment and she would be like, okay, well, I know where she lives. I guess she was just curious to see how she lived or who she was. Oh, but the thing that got her attention was that she said that the lady always wore the same thing. Like she never saw her wear anything else. Like it was always the same thing, like a beige sweater with a pink bandana. So I guess it was more like interesting to her, like why does she always wear the same thing?
And you said you would see her in the same spot all the time, like same path, which I guess it would be normal, right? Because anyone in an apartment complex, if that's their way from their apartment to get out, it's kind of normal.
Yeah, no, they lived in the same apartment complex, so she would see her. But I guess what caught her eye was just that, like, why does she wear the same thing? And then she was actually, being nosy. And like I said, from her apartment, you could go down, you could look down and see to the lady's apartment, right? But she said it was empty, like there was nothing in there. Like it just looked old and dusty, but there was no like, there was no bed.
I kind of feel like where this is going, but yeah, yeah, go on, go on. And it's just the sole factor that you're saying that when she got to look in her apartment, and you said like there was nothing there.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's always that one thing like that kind of makes you think, guys, how strong your mind is and how if you see something and how you kind of invest it, how much you manifest it. But oh man, you could go on, dude.
yeah. So no furniture, no fridge, nothing like that. So she like, oh, this lady must just live like that, like it's just, I guess, her way of living. Maybe that's why she doesn't own a lot of things. So maybe that's why she doesn't own a lot of clothes. So it made sense to her. And then there was like a groundskeeper, which is a lady, and then something ended up breaking. I think either in her apartment or the apartment above. But she was really cool with the groundskeeper, so she would always talk to her, and they would always talk about certain things. So she asked her, she's like, "Hey, let me ask you a question." She's like, "What's up with that lady? That lives in that apartment, and she always wears the same thing. Like, what's up with her?" And then she's like, "I'm gonna tell you something, but you're gonna think it's strange. Like, you're not the only person that has seen her. Like everybody says the same thing. Like the few people that have seen her, they say that she wears a beige sweater and a pink bandana. But I'm gonna tell you right now that nobody lives in that apartment. So imagine what you would feel like. You see her in the hallways, you see her all the time, like passing by, like that's your neighbor, and then next thing you know, they're like, "Well, you're not the only one that sees her," and she actually passes down the hallways. Like that's pretty intense.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to stay in that apartment complex after that anymore. Mainly because, man, her stating that not everybody can see that. I'm like, nah, man, I don't, like I said, I don't want to find out. I don't want to mess with things. I don't want to be saying that I'm like, just run away from everything, right? But you never know what type of energy or type of power that thing can have. Just like I say, from simple depictions or from movies or shows.
Yeah, no, dude, and it's pretty intense. Like I said, you see this person every day, day to day, and then they tell you, like, nah, dude, like she doesn't. There's nobody there. Like nobody lives there. So you could just imagine like what you would think about her. What you would feel. So that's a pretty. I don't know. Like I would feel a certain way if I seen that. Like I would feel chills. Like just
With that being said, if you were that person, would you stay in that apartment? Like, would you just keep making, like, telling yourself that it's not there, even though if you do continue seeing it? Because me personally, I don't know. Because the fact of you just seeing someone pass by it doesn't. Me back in the day, I would have been scared, but now, kind of being more of a realist and like analyze things and kind of thinking things through. Just because you see something or it's like a spirit pass doesn't mean it's doing something bad to you, right? Like malevolent or anything. It's just walking. Now, opposed to, like, let's say that thing comes to my door and then be doing that every night, yeah, I'm leaving. But if it's just passing, then maybe, yeah, I guess I would stay minding my own business. In reality, what if the lady they saw, it was just someone that was stuck, someone that wasn't, I guess, at peace with themselves yet or something. You never know. You know how, like, in the movies too, how they'll always show, for example, if the a little kid was their life was taken away and they'll be stuck there and they'll see them and then they'll free them and then they'll do something and they'll be free their soul and it disappears. So that's kind of the concept. But would you stay then? Because I would stay. I guess now saying kind of looking at it in that concept. If she's not messing with me and I just see it, but then it will kind of worry me because only I see her, and then nobody else. I'm like, damn, why do I see her? Is she targeting me or is it because I have a gift? Like kind of what we talked about in previous episodes.
Yeah, no, I mean, now the way that you put it is like obviously, I guess if they're not bothering you and you're not bothering them, then nothing should happen. But then at the same time, it's really how, I guess, how comfortable you are and if you believe in those things or not, you know? Because if you're superstitious, then I'm pretty sure it'd be like, nah, I'm gonna get out of here. Like, I don't want to live here anymore, you know? And if you don't believe in it, then you just be like, oh well, I guess it was just all part of my I was all just part of my imagination. Like I just imagine that stuff and it's not real, you know?
And that's the thing about like talking about things like this, dude, that so many people think about so many different have so many different beliefs, um or opinions on things. Like someone can say if something, for example, if our mic were to fall right now, someone would say that was a ghost, someone would say you pulled it, someone would say maybe a cable was stuck, someone would say maybe the stand's broken. Like there's always different opinions. And that's like the beauty of being able to talk about these types of things, guys. That's why here, in the Midnight Safe Room, there is really no limit on what we speak about. Obviously we're always here and we respect each other's opinions and everything. That's what I feel like that's what truly matters. And that's like I feel like that's what I really like about our channel and how can really we convey with each other.
Yeah, no, definitely guys, that's why I always say to the viewers, if you guys have any stories or if you guys want to be part of the podcast as well, just let us know. We're open to a lot of things. And thank you guys, because like without you guys, none of this would be possible.
Oh man, now that we're talking about this, dude, like it just popped in my mind. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know, especially the older audiences, the older heads, um, know of this podcast, like very famous. They pass it on the radio, and even now, if you go on YouTube, they stream every night. I watch them and I listen to them every time, and I'm pretty sure you know who I'm gonna say, with La Mano Peluda. Man, shout out to them, man. Like growing up, like listening to them was so awesome, and even now as an adult, that I listen to them, like whether it be when it's actually live or the day after, man, like it's crazy, man. Like listening to them as a young age and until now. But yeah, oh, want to say something?
Yeah, dude. I definitely recommend their podcast. Now it's a podcast, but before, they would just talk about their stories on the radio station, if that makes sense, especially in Mexico. So now that obviously podcasts are a big thing, now you can listen to it all over the world. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty, like I said, their stories are scary, man. Like I remember listening to their stories when I was a little kid, like and I couldn't sleep at night. I remember that I would say La Mano Peluda like that. Like their stories are really interesting and really scary. Like they're good. They're
Yeah,
good.
so people who don't know, what we're talking about saying in Spanish, la mano peluda means like the hairy hand, right? Pretty much what they do in their show or whatever. They have people either call them and they talk to them like on the phone line, or they'll send them a voice message or recording of like an experience that they had. And then obviously, they'll talk about it on live TV, and sometimes they'll have experts or priests or other people join them, to kind of try to answer the person's questions or find the reasoning on why something happened. Point is, yeah, there was a special case, dude. I remember an episode, and I'm pretty sure you do. Everybody, like I said, if not, that's something to look up. It's called like the the case of Nash, El Caso de Nash, Nash. So it starts off with um, Juan Ramon with, I believe, he's also with like a pastor, and I think also what's that other guy's name? Maestro Soham is there, and but he's talking to the person, the guy named Nash. But also rest in peace, Juan Ramon. Thank you for creating such a beautiful show that brings people together. That are into that thing. But it starts off where they're talking to that guy Nash, dude, and they're telling him like, "Yo, like, what's going on? What are you feeling, or what's up?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'm calling because I recently made a deal or a pact with death." And they're like, "What do you mean you made a pact with death?" And he's like, "Yeah, because I wanted this girl to love me. I wanted my girlfriend to love me and take me back." And he goes like, and I offered her and I gave her blood, and ever since I did that,
So he wanted his girlfriend, but in return he offered her.
no, so he wanted the girlfriend. I don't know if they had an argument or something, and he wanted her like back and for him to love her,
Oh, okay.
for her to love
I
him.
love him.
Sorry, and he in exchange he offered and then gave Death blood, and after that he said he was experiencing like a special weird thing where he felt like something would go inside him and take over him, and he would feel like it wasn't him. And they're kind of talking, and out of nowhere, next thing you know, you hear the guy's voice start distorting, and kind of like if like a demonic voice is like took over him, and it starts making like really scary and gross noises where and he starts telling him like Juan Ramon starts telling him like like I know it's you, like you got to know that God is real and that this is your body, that you're the one that's in charge and you can. And he starts going like like making some crazy weird noises, dude. Like I'm like, oh man. And then the priest or the father steps in and he starts saying like I guess phrases in Latin to release that thing that's inside him, and it starts like shrieking and yelling, and then it starts laughing so menacingly, dude. Like hearing that, even hearing it again, like I heard it just to like relive it again. Dude, that thing sounds crazy, dude. And you think about it, how back in the day we didn't have this technology to make all this stuff fake, you know? Now we have AI or all like this super advanced technology or things like that. Back in the day, a lot of things didn't exist of that nature. So, and even then, like it to me at first, I was skeptical about it. Like hearing it, like I'm saying, you guys just gotta check it out. Like you type in La Mano Peluda, El Case of Nash, El Caso de Nash, and yeah, and then like I said, the father keeps like praying or saying like chanting words in Latin, and the thing just starts like continues laughing or making like gross noise, like like really, really like contort, like if he was being like I don't know, like distorted. I mean, like I don't know, it did not sound like it was a person, dude. Like it went from like low pitch to high pitch, like it was like, and he would like yell or he would like laugh and cry. Dude, like that thing is insane. Like maybe it's probably some people are like, it's all cap, it's all cap, but nah, dude, to me, I thought that was legitimately real, and hearing it like in like firsthand, you just hearing it. Imagine you see that, dude. And dude, like to me, like I said, I thought everything a bit of it was real, but I don't know what your intake is on that.
So he said he made that pact with death or with a demon.
With death, he said la muerte.
Yeah.
He told him like that he made a pact and that in his for his offering he offered and gave blood.
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of, I mean, different things about, because la Santa Muerte, la Flaquita, like basically, if you ask her for something, they say she's really generous, you know, but you have to uphold your end of the bargain. So you ask for something, but in return, you have to like uphold your end of the bargain, whatever it may be. So if you don't do that, then things are gonna go bad for you. So I don't know if what deal he made, and he didn't keep his end of the bargain, and it went that way because obviously all the respect to death. She's beautiful in every way because obviously it's part of life. You know, so what you decide to do in that aspect, that's on you. That's why I say I respect everybody, and I don't mess with certain things that we're not supposed to. But yeah, no, from what I know is like if you do make a deal with that, you have to uphold your end of the bargain. If not, then things go bad for you. So that's why I'm saying like maybe he didn't uphold it, or maybe he promised too much that he couldn't, keep his end.
And it makes you wonder, dude, that people just don't get that common sense or understanding that they've heard and seen this happen multiple times and they keep doing it. Like, why do it if you're gonna bail out? You know, like you already started it. Like, why? And even then, like how you were talking about, the passing. When you pass away, it's kind of something like it's a pretty sensitive topic, but it's kind of like you said, the way of life, something that's inevitable. At the end of the day, I feel like if you make the best out of your life and you don't harm anyone in that process, and mind your own business and do that, I feel like that's good enough. But it definitely is very interesting and very scary to be able to, like, I guess, see, like, hear that. I mean, can you imagine, dude? Like, that guy, literally, like I said, people, well, not just that guy, but like you said, with the girl and then with the show, like, it just goes to show you how people have no type of, I guess, morals or morality or even some type of like sense of good. Kind of makes you think like how how big and bad it is, like how evil really is taking over the world, and how you know there's only so much good left. With that being said,
Yeah, no, it's like I said, it's just something out of this world, something that we can't, explain or just give sense to like how it works. So that's why me myself, like I said, I don't mess with certain things. Like yeah, it does sound nice in the beginning. Like okay, you're gonna make somebody fall in love with you. You're gonna have money. You're gonna have the best luck. But you don't think about like all the consequences and all the things that are gonna go back. Because it's gonna happen. Like yeah, that might last you for like for example with the first story. She made the guy fall in love with him, and he fell hard, and then eventually it backfired that now she can't have children anymore. And like with this story that you just said, like obviously, he wanted his girl back, but in return he got like possessed or something like that happened to him.
and that makes me wonder that what if like half of the time, because I feel like people they think that this stuff is so easy to do. Like it'll be like, oh, for example, how to do this, and they think it's just as easy as making a cup of tea. And with that, with what I'm trying to say is that think about it this way: if we're so uninformed on that, or not even knowledge, they even think they're doing it right. What if they're messing up and summoning something completely different? This, which is why what's happening is happening to them. No, just think about it. Why would some random person that never did or practice that, I'm like, I'm gonna follow this ritual, and then it should work. Like, yeah, like it's not like, all right, pour sugar, 2 teaspoons, or I don't think they do it like that. And even then, like I'm telling you, I just feel like we play or mess with things that we don't know what we're messing with, even though we think we are, but we really don't. Because, like I said, who are we to say what we're messing? How do we know? We're just told by either stories, legends, or myths, or by other people's experiences, but we don't know what really that thing or whatever that entity might be. And then, like I said, it always makes my mind ponder on like, well, what prevails more all the time, or what's what is always like revolves around people more. What uh, is it because like the society that you're around, or how you are as a person, or that's just what you're around, like, is it just unfortunate luck?
Yeah, no, now going back to like rituals and all that stuff, I just remembered I have this one of my guys. I haven't talked to him in a while though. I met him because I used to do AP with him too. So he told me that him and his girlfriend were arguing a lot and they couldn't get pregnant. Like she couldn't have kids. So he said that he was looking for a bruja, a witch, like for them to go and to get cleansed. And he told me that you had to pay. I think it was pretty expensive. I'm not gonna lie. I think it was like $300 or $500 for the ritual, and she would get the ingredients, like basically what you need, because there's some that you have to get the stuff, but this one she got it. So he said he went and she had a chicken. I don't know if it was a chicken or a rooster, but he said that she told him to take off their clothes and just be in their undergarments. So obviously him in his boxers, and her and her bra and her underwear. So she started chanting like different things. Like I don't remember what they were, obviously, and she started doing like rituals. Then she said that out of nowhere she grabs the chicken, and that, she said she's gonna kill it, but he thought like, okay, maybe, she's gonna kill it with a knife or some way, and then he said that no, that she grabbed the chicken and started beating the chicken on them. I just started beating the shit out of the chicken, like on them, pa, pa, until it died. So it's like stuff like that is like pretty intense. And then he said that there was blood all over the place, and then she told him like after this, you guys are gonna be fine, and then after this, she's gonna be able to get pregnant. But I guess I don't know, somebody had cursed them or done something to them. I'm not 100% sure. And then she said that she made them go into the shower and she cut off all their undergarments, and then she washed them with like like I don't know, like this water that had like what's it called, like certain like leaves and stuff like that. I guess that she made like a special concoction. I didn't ask him if it worked. I think from what I remember, it did help them like get into a better relationship. And then I think she was trying to have kids. I don't know. Like I said, I don't remember the story like 100% because it was already like a while back. But yeah, no, it reminds me of like the work that you pay for, what you want in return. Because obviously there's people that could do that. That's why I say, always be careful what you pay for and what curses that you want, because at the end of the day, shit's gonna come back to you. And then it might not be to you, but it might be to your loved one. So, always be careful and, do your research because you might think that you have it all under control, but you don't. Even with these stories that we're telling, like, just be careful with what you do out there, you know?
Yeah, and then with you talking about that, dude, reminds me of, I don't want to say the person's name, but it's someone that I went to like grammar school with. Um, she pretty much it was because, like I said, I remember I think it was around like third or fourth, but I do remember that if people she would I would always hear that comment that people would say, "Man, I wish I had your family. I wish I had your family." And I'll be like, "No." Nonetheless, what you would call it, she would always say because and then she would always look kind of sad, and I kind of really like was interested, well, kind of curious on why she was, you know. And one day, like she said, it's because like her parents are always fighting, and they're always kind of sometimes getting. I believe they get physical sometimes. So you could imagine like growing up seeing that type of abuse, or I guess, and being in that environment that's hostile. Point is, we don't want to go too depth, and that's none of my business. Point is, like one time she said that her older sister, I think when she at that time, I think the sister was 18 or 17, because I remember she would pick her up from school, and I remember she would sometimes, well, she would say hi to me because obviously I would talk to her, and one time like she told me that her sister went with her friends, and that obviously since the mom and dad would always fight, that the sister apparently went to some of her friends' house, and that they were trying to do some like ritual to have like her parents not like to they can like reconcile and love each other, and that like they didn't even know what they were doing, and that halfway during that they started like feeling that, oh, they were in a room or something, and that they kind of were feeling, it started to get cold, and they were feeling like kind of uneasy, like some like a just like out of place, and that they just ended it and whatever, but that they didn't, I guess, finish or whatever they were doing, and they got scared and bailed. And that apparently the next day, that when they got up, that the mom and the dad were hugging, and that they haven't hugged or kissed in forever. But they were the sister that I went with didn't was like, what's going on, But that obviously the older sister, she even then she was kind of still weirded out about it, because she's like, obviously she didn't finish or do it right, but that apparently for like maybe a few days or so, it was like it seemed like they were perfect. Even then she would come to school and would be like, like she seems so happy, dude. And I was like, damn, well, that's nice, maybe miracle. I mean, miracles do exist, but I'm like, that was a miracle. Now and then out of nowhere, next thing you know, like one day, like I don't know where she didn't show up to school for a while, and then one day she came, but she was with like her sister and like aunt and uncle, and I found out that it's because like the parents, like they just like disappeared out of nowhere. Like they were nowhere to be found. Like I don't know if they left or what, but Yeah, that they pretty much had abandoned them, and now they were gonna take her out of that school because they were gonna go to somewhere else. So I don't know what exactly happened to the parents, but that they had no type of like recollection or findings of them. I mean, nobody ever wanted to. They didn't really tell anybody. The only reason I found out was because the older sister said it. But that was really the last time I heard of her. Like they just ended up switching schools and leaving. So I don't know what exactly happened to them. But it's kind of a mystery to be like, especially with what the daughter was doing to kind of have them fix their differences. And I feel like sometimes as a kid, you just want to have that normal life. You want to fit in. And sometimes you can't blame them, because I mean, when you see that in real life or in TVs or in shows, you kind of, it'll be like, man, I wish I could have that.
Yeah, and like you were saying, that's those kids or those two daughters that did that ritual, like they didn't know what they were doing or they didn't know what they were getting themselves
It
into.
was the older one.
Or the older one, but yeah, no,
Mm.
even with that, like people do things that they don't understand because they think it's like the easy way, like even with I remember when we moved into this house, and remember we met Juan and Oscar, and then they told us that. So there are some of our childhood friends. They A lot of things have happened in their house too. Maybe one day we could get them in the podcast. Or one of them at least. Um, they did tell us that when they moved in, they would hear like different things or like strange things would happen in their homes. But they also told us that upstairs in the attic, I don't know if you remember, in the attic they found that hidden room, and in that hidden room there was like coloring books, and then they found like a baby seat, but the baby seat had like shackles on it.
Oh yeah, dude, I remember they said, dude, like I said, we're gonna try to have Oscar come to the podcast, like our friend Oscar, and he could tell you guys personally because we don't want to take his stories and stuff. But yeah, I remember that he did tell us that there's like a little hidden room in his attic, right?
Yeah.
And it was like hidden away, and it was like, yeah, like hidden away, and it was closed, and in there was coloring books and that, yeah, the chain, and I think it even had like blood, no, but it looked like it was old or aged or something. I think, but we didn't know if it was rust or something. I think I don't know if I don't know. We have to ask him.
Yeah. I don't remember that part specifically, but I also know that they found another little hidden compartment like on the roof. So the roof on the inside it was like slanted because obviously it's the roof. In that little hidden room, they said they found a little compartment, and the little compartment had like a Ouija board, and they had little like what are they called? Little uh, what little voodoo dolls.
Oh,
Yeah,
damn.
like little voodoo dolls. And I don't know, but he said that he found and there was a lot of them in there. So you could just imagine, I mean, what was going on, or who they had shackled, and then obviously with the coloring books and all that. Like, yeah, it's pretty intense, I think.
Yeah, because you remember, dude, when we first moved in, well, when we came to the house that we were before, well, here, when upstairs there was that one saw that was just kind of tied up there, like the circle thing, like was it a saw blade or something? It was just on top and it was just kind of hanging there for no reason. Like, why would that even be put there? like when, but yeah, guys, I mean, it's something really interesting, like to always think about or talk about on like these types of things that pertain with love rituals or rituals that just end up turning bad. I mean, me personally, I don't think any rituals always is ever gonna turn up good. No, I don't think so. Because just the sole factor that you never know what you're messing with, or even I feel like nobody even knows what they're doing. And with that being said, I feel like just stay away from those things, guys. Don't mess with it. Listening to stories and I guess reading about it is different, but I wouldn't suggest you getting involved in it. I don't think it leads to anything good.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like just leave it alone. Just to be on the safe side. I mean, I know we all want things. Like we want love, we want money, we want power. I mean, it's normal as humans. But I mean, we just gotta be careful. With how we wanna get those things, and what we do for them or what we're willing to sacrifice. But I mean, like I said, to each their own. Everybody's their own world. Your brain is their own world and all that stuff. And I mean, pretty much. I don't know. We have more topics that we want to discuss for today, or for another day.
No, I think that's gonna pretty much wrap it up for today, guys. As always, like I said, we do hope that you enjoyed the topic from today and what we talked about. If you have any questions, do comment them. If you have any stories, do put them there too. Or if you feel more comfortable directing, like direct messaging them to us, feel free to. We do appreciate, like I said, as always, anyone that watches our videos, shares them, likes, and all that jazz. We're continuously, like I said, trying to improve ourselves, whether it be on our audio quality, our video quality, or just on the sole factor of us talking. So we appreciate, like I said, everyone so much, and like I said, stay tuned for more episodes coming soon because we're gonna be consistent with this stuff, guys. We're really like looking forward to this. Like I said, it's just the fact that two guys trying to achieve a dream of theirs, and like I said, let's just hope we can achieve it. With everyone here.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys. From the bottom of our hearts. Comment, like, subscribe, be safe out there, and just enjoy life. Sometimes we think we have it all. We think that we have everybody forever, but unfortunately, it's not true. So always be there with your family, your loved ones, and just show them love. Like it doesn't take too much out of you or out of your day to be just nice. A positive comment can just turn somebody's day in like a whole 360. Like there's days that I'm just like not feeling it or I'm not having a good day, and randomly get a comment from somebody like, "Oh, you look so cool," or "I like your style," and it like lights up my day, and it makes me happy. And I even tell them like, "Thank you for making my day." And it doesn't hurt to be a good human. Like I know we all go through things, and I'm not gonna say, like we don't go through pain or we don't go through anguish, but it doesn't, it's not bad to be a good person. But yeah, no, thank you guys for being there for us. And like I said, if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, or any stories you guys want to share with us, always we're open to it.
With that being said, guys, like I said, we appreciate everything you guys do and for being here. As always, this is the Midnight Safe Room where you're safe and no topic is off limit. We'll see you next time, guys. Take care.
A red glow crawls across the wall. You hear